Welcome to another video. My name is Mario and in today's video I'm gonna go over how you can get the smoothest gimbal shots. So when I first started using gimbals, I would just use them straight out of the box without adjusting any settings other than just balancing the camera on the gimbal, and that was a rookie mistake because there are a lot of settings that you can fine-tune on your gimbal so that you can get the best performance out of the motor of your gimbal. So today I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to get the smoother shots, and I'll show you comparisons of what the footage looks like from one extreme of those settings to the other extreme. And I'll show you as well the settings that I specifically dial in for my gimbal. On this video, I'll be showing you the footage and settings from the Weebill 3S. This will also work with the Weebill 3 and the Weebill 3E, and I believe some of other Zhiyun gimbals as well. But before we continue, let me know in the comments below which Zhiyun gimbal you currently have. And the settings that I'm going to share with you are usually on the settings that I use with a mirrorless camera, a full frame camera, and a wide zoom lens, sometimes even a mid-range sort of zoom, like a 28-75 Tamron. So do bear in mind that some of these settings might need to tweak even further to further customize them to the setups and the weight capacity that you use for your shooting scenarios. And also keep in mind that just because you fine-tune these settings and you have no experience practicing with the gimbal, these settings are not going to magically make all your gimbal footage look super smooth. You still have to go out there and practice and do your hours on the gimbal to perfect those moves. So once you have your gimbal properly balanced, the first thing you want to do is go into the menu and go into motor. Once here, you're able to adjust the settings of that motor on your gimbal. You can press the menu button over here and you can use the scroll wheel. You press in to enter into the settings and move it this way to adjust those settings. I most of the time just go with the auto, and I just let the gimbal auto tune itself to the current setup that I have. You can also go to custom if you want to further tweak things out, or you can go to level where you can access some of Zhiyun's predetermined presets. But for me, I just do auto tune every single time I have a new lens on my camera and a brand new setup balanced on that gimbal. So here is where all the fine tuning begins. So you go into advanced, and now you get this setting called speed. When you press on this, you get two other settings. One is called control, which is the joystick, and the other one is follow, which is the gimbal following the movement of your hand. So speed is how quickly the gimbal reacts to your movement when you're using the joystick or when you're moving the gimbal. So coming up, I'll show you the two extremes of each of these settings and the footage that comes out of them. Keep in mind that this test is not perfect because every single time I moved the gimbal, it was not always the exact same movement, so bear that in mind. But I hope that this footage can at least give you an idea of what each of these settings do to your gimbal. Before we continue though, if you're still watching and you haven't subscribed, it would be greatly appreciated if you hit that subscribe button for more videos from me. And if you're already subscribed and you're here, thank you again so much for being here. You can go to advanced, set up for speed, control, which is the joystick. So my desired settings for the joystick are these ones. Now when you go to follow, this is how quickly the gimbal will react to your movements by hand. done different tweaks, but what I found that what works best for me in most scenarios are these settings. You can hit the menu button to always go back to the previous menu. And now we're going to smooth. This setting tells the gimbal how smoothly to react to your movement. And this is more like how much dampening you want on your gimbal, meaning how slowly you want that gimbal to come to a stop. My preferred settings are between 100 and 120 for all of these axes. The last setting that you should pay attention to is the Deadband setting. And this pretty much means how much delay there is between you moving the gimbal and the motors of the gimbal actually start following that movement. In other words, it's sort of like how many degrees you have to move your hand before the gimbal starts following that movement. Now that you've seen those two, my preferred settings are these ones. So those are the settings that you should keep in mind and be aware of when you get your first gimbal. And make sure that you always fine-tune things as you go along. And if you're changing different camera setups all the time, make sure to always balance your camera properly and to tune that motor either by auto tune or by a custom setting that you have. But as always, the best thing too is to practice, practice, practice. So anyways, I hope that this video was helpful to you. And here are a couple more videos you could watch next, and I'll see you there.